welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner. I'm an old friend of Forbidden Planet TV and Forbidden Planet right here, the one and only Zack Snyder. How are you, mate?
Awesome to be here. So awesome. Awesome to be here. Love Forbidden Planet. You know, it's the best.
And I know you do. And I'm in our guys as Titan Comics and Titan Books. We love working with you, Zack. We've collaborated on many things over the years, many of your epic projects. And
absolutely.
And now we're collaborating on your latest, a departure, if you will, from the things that we've loved from you over the last 10 years, where you're doing epic things in other people's universes, be that DC Comics or the world of the dead, of course, Army of the Dead. But now we're here about Rebel Moon. So what can you tell me about the genesis of the project, Zack?
Yeah, well, you know, it's a project that's been kicking around for quite a long time. I mean, it started with my love of sci-fi, you know, probably hatched in my first experience with a little movie called Star Wars. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a lot of people seem to like it. And then as I grew older, you know, it was really influenced by a lot of the films, Excalibur, a lot of films I saw between sort of 1977 and I said like 1987, you know, that 10 years of my life, also very formative, but also, and probably the main influence was Heavy Metal magazine and the sort of intense illustrative sci-fi, Twilight Zone, adult insanity that lurks in the pages of Heavy Metal, or did for me when I was growing up. Always a surprise, always a treat. Every issue just blew my mind and made me go, what the? And so when I wanted to make this, and I think you'll see it, especially when you see the director's cuts eventually of Rebel Moon, you'll really get a sense of the Heavy Metal influence, probably more than maybe in the PG-13, just because of the sort of nature of, you know, that adult illustrated fantasy magazine, I think was the subheading on Heavy Metal. So anyway, yeah, so those were some of the influences in its genesis, and it existed in my mind for, you know, quite a long time. I pitched it to a bunch of different studios as a video game, as a TV series, until finally it found its home at Netflix. After Army of the Dead, I said, hey, what about this crazy sci-fi thing? And they were like, sounds great. And so, yeah, so we were off and running.
That's just great. Funnily enough, I was going to ask you about heavy metal, because I feel there are times that you, and you've answered the question, you're really channeling, say, the Frazetta, or particularly the Richard Corbin of it all in your visuals. Yeah, absolutely. Those are the touchstones.
Yeah, those were big influences. There's a little Mobius in there. Yeah, there's everything. Right, you know, everything. All the you know, the greatest hits. You know, that I really feel like I got, you know, just heavily influenced by that magazine when I was growing up, because, you know, when I was sort of, my aesthetic was forming, you know, I had been a fan of comic books early on, and then when my mother by accident got me this subscription to Heavy Metal, she didn't realize that it was for adults. She thought I had snuck a copy, and she saw it and was like, oh, Zack loves this, I'm gonna get it for him for Christmas. And so I had it, and I really feel like it kind of, sure, I was jaded by it in some ways, but I also it really expanded my horizons, if you will. It was quite, there was, you know, it was funny because it did kind of, for a while, it made me, normal comic books were a little too tame for my liking. So sadly, it did kind of turn me off of normal serialized comics, until, of course, like, you know, Watchmen came along and Dark Knight Returns, and then I was kind of back. But yeah, I took quite a detour into sci-fi, fantasy, horror, insanity. So it was good. And it was good. It's good for you guys.
Yeah, for the audience. And you know, that it's good for us. It's good for us at Forbidden Planet. That's our wheelhouse, of course. And did you ever dip into Epic Illustrated at all? Were you familiar with that?
Yeah, a little bit, but not probably as much as I should have, because in retrospect, when you see it, you know, there's all these things that you discover were laying there alongside that you just, you know, whether you were, you know, my resources as a child were limited, but yeah, it's funny how you know, these there's these certain publications. Well, you know, it's funny. I was we were talking about, and I know this is slightly off, but like, you know, I stumbled onto, you know, all the, like in the first run, I bought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah, right.
And when Eastman and Laird were doing it from their, basically from their garage, and it's a similar thing. Like I just happened to see it, you know, and say, oh, that's cool, right? Like and I collected it. But it's similar to you know, there's these certain publications that you then, or you find later, someone goes, hey, have you ever looked at? So yeah.
I mean, that connectivity is lovely. I think early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it has that really gritty feel to it, right?
Unbelievably. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something unique for sure. So talking about comics, let's pivot into this unique relationship you've got with our Titan Comics team about this lovely 4-part series, Rebel Moon, House of the BLOODAXE, available from the links attached to our conversation.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
But it's we as you know, over the years at Titan, we've done a lot of comic adaptations of great movies, but this is really something special that you're doing, and this is really operating in a much more kind of inside baseball kind of way with Rebel Moon. Could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, it's not like I mean, I know that the normal sort of way that people adapt you know, a movie into a comic book is they kind of do the movie as a comic book, you know. And when we talked about this, I was like, you know what? There's so much mythology, there's so much lore, there's so much backstory that the audience just, that we know that the audience isn't going to get a chance to see. But that's also amazing, you know, the palace intrigue, the culture, all of that stuff. That's just so rich. And I just felt like, you know, that would be a great way to expand sort of Rebel Moon universe and give the audience like kind of you know, a primer, if you will, and go on an adventure where they didn't know what was going to happen. Because, you know, frankly, when you do if I was to serialize the film into a comic book form, you kind of, the adventure of reading it wouldn't be as what we have with the BLOODAXE comic, in that we don't know the story. And so it's an incredible opportunity for the audience to just go on an additional epic, operatic, insane sci-fi journey.
No, yeah, and the results are beautiful. It's a story by yourself, of course, and it's a killer script by Mags Usadjo, great talent, and some wonderful artwork by Clark Bint as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a dream team for me. You know, Mags has been amazing. She really has an incredible eye for myth and understands so much of what I was trying to do with the story and with the characters themselves. And she really expanded in an incredible way. She came up with things I would never have thought of. And that's what really, when I'm working with a writer, that's where I really get jazzed, is when they're like, what about this? And I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And so there's a lot of that. And then the art, again, like I said, you know, it's fun to see, you know, to kind of have these meetings where you talk about, here's the design world. This is what those, within the BLOODAXE costumes in the movie, this is what that stuff signals toward. This is what we had in our mind. And then to see that just like expanded and fleshed out, like culturally, that's really fun and really cool.
Yeah, right on. And have you checked out the variant covers? There's such a beautiful range of variant covers.
Absolutely, of course. You know, I'm very intimately have a great intimate knowledge of all the different covers and variations, and I just think that you guys have done an amazing job just to really keep your finger on the pulse of like what's collectible and what's exciting and what's also new expanded information about the universe within in each cover. I think it's an endless. If you're going down the rabbit hole of the BLOODAXEs, the expanded covers are a must, and you really got to figure it out. You really got to check them out because they're amazing.
Yeah, well said, mate. I couldn't agree more. And to stay going down this rabbit hole of your connectivity with the books,
Sure.
There's this beautiful novelization of the first movie. I've got it right here, actually.
Yep.
Written by the one and only V. Castro.
Yep, V is amazing. Yep.
She's we've had her on the show here a bunch of times. We work with her with a bunch of her books. She's an awesome talent and a very interesting person with a unique take on things. And I hear that she went over to visit with you when you were setting this up. Is that right?
Yeah, she came over. She's come over a couple times, and we've sat, and then of course we've done endless Zooms. But what she's done, and the reason why why it's such an expanded story from the movie is because she based it on the script, and the script is what the R-rated and the director's cuts version of the movie are based on. So she had this much more robust volume to work with, and so that's why when you read the novelization, you really get a whole bunch of extra and sort of additional character stuff and just stuff you and then of course even in our conversations she was like, is it cool if I expand this idea or that idea? And I was like, absolutely. I can't wait to see it. So she's done a great job sort of also filling in a little bit of the universe, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I felt on one level it was a callback to the great novelizations that we all grew up on, which were often based on the initial script rather than the shooting script. So you'd find all these Easter eggs, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh man, this wasn't here, and I love that. It's like that with the Raiders. It's the Raiders novelization back in the day. The original Star Wars, all full of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah, Splinter, Alan Dean Foster. Yeah, absolutely classic. I wish they'd gone down that route with the later movies. That was awesome. Yeah, but to have it come from you at the same time, I think that's the extra piece of juice there.
Well, and I think that's what because the thing is, and I think the only tricky bit was that because we have, this giant universe kind of and story plan, I wanted to make sure that we didn't get like cul-de-sac or painted into a corner, but she did a great job navigating our needs as far as how the movie goes forward, as well as, the needs of the drama.
Yeah, again, I think that's absolutely right on. And then our colleagues at Titan Books have also produced the first of two beautiful art books, and got a fascinating title. I wondered if you could just kick off by explaining the relevance of the title. The first book is Wolf Ex Nihilo, Cosmology and Technology.
Yeah, well, we have, Adam and I have worked extensively to fill out the mythology of the universe. And part of the creation myth of the mother world has to do with a wolf and a worm and how those two creatures existed in the void. And anyway, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you can imagine that as you explore it, there's a lot of that kind of symbolism and a lot of that kind of where we really try to fill in the history of the mother world and Moa itself, which is the mother of the planet, to really try and make the worldview of the Imperium consistent. And the way to do that is to give them a consistent sort of origin myth. And also with the Princesses and all of the like sort of old stories that we created, like old myths that we created for them, they all kind of have a lot to do with the symbolism and the iconology that you see within the mother world's sort of basic aesthetic.
Yeah, that is very nice to hear. In fact, I have a copy here.
Awesome.
And I mean, it's beautiful on the inside. It's so big, I won't open it up, but it is. I once talked to the great Jim Steranko, right, about one of his artist editions, And as he was leafing through the pages and passing it over to me, he said, "This isn't just a book; it's an offensive weapon." And that's really what this is. I mean,
Yeah.
you could really do somebody some damage with this. With
really,
in all its beauty, you rammed it into
Yeah.
the face. It's a real slab of beauty right here.
No, it is. And by the way, and because, you know, the truth is, we had so much artwork and so much, like, there's two of those books, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's the incredible thing, is that, you know, you think about a movie. I mean, one thing that's interesting about, you know, we talked about, like, you know, world building and kind of like every movie I've made has an art book associated with it. So it's very much like, you know, if you like stack up all of the art making of books that I've created for all my movies, you understand that, like, the amount of energy that we really deliver into these projects is at such a level where, you know, we don't even know how to do it unless we figure out every nook and cranny of the universe that we're going into. And the thing with Rebel Moon is it offered such an incredible opportunity in art manufacturing and world building and myth making that we really, I mean, we went completely nuts on that, and it was so fun. And that's why the book is so dense and so rich. Both books are, that you just, you really have to have them both. I don't think you can get one and not the other. And frankly, you have to get both, because you just need to understand the sort of how much there is in this universe and how beautiful it is. It's just a treat. I really am. I'm glad they exist.
I think that is very well said. Written by the great Peter Perle.
Yeah, also a longtime collaborator.
A longtime collaborator, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Peter's a great friend, and I've great writer, and always has great insight. And because he knows me so well, you know, I think he really has, and he has great access. You know, he can call me anytime, and so it's a really it's always fun to work with him.
Yeah, I know at Titan HQ when we see the pages come together and we see the photographs come in over the desk, we're always just so blown away by how rich it is. It's just phenomenal. Yeah,
and you know, and Wes has a lot to do with that too. You know,
the great Wes Collar.
Yes, Wes has got a really incredible design sense and layout sense. He was a graphic designer before he became a producer. And so he and I always, you know, we work really closely. You know, I think that the thing about the making of books that we produced together with you guys is that it's not a thing where we just hand over the material and be like, okay, you know, let us know. We're really involved. We trust you guys incredibly because you guys have incredible artists and incredible graphic geniuses. But I think that you still get us, you know, on a daily basis, you know, involved, so that it really is consistent and has a great continuity to the movies.
Yeah, I that's very kind of you to say, and it's also absolutely true. You know, Titan is a family business, and it's a family endeavor for us. I mean, funnily enough, one of the first art books that we worked on with you, personal favorite of mine, is Sucker Punch. And I remember taking my son, who back then was like 15, to the premiere in London, and at the time, it was like, Matt, as I was watching it, I was thinking, this film is perfectly engineered for a 15-year-old young man. Yeah. And when we walked out at the end, he's like, Dad, man, that was the best fucking film I've ever seen. You know, his head was blowing up. Yeah, so I look at that on our shelves. You know, every time I see it, I think of that moment. But that energy that we had producing that, it's been the same for all of the art books. And this is the piece of resistance so far, I think.
I think so too. I think it really goes to the next level with these two books. It really does. I mean, we were talking about the other day, and we were like, oh, we should do like a fan screening, and I can, you know, sign the comic books. You know, we could do a comic book signing during the fan screening. Be awesome. And I was like, and we should have the making of books there too, because they're also like this incredible. Well, I was just saying, I go, because they're just such an incredible, like, in a lot of ways, there's a great compliment to the comic books. People wouldn't think that, like, oh, the comic books and the making of books, they feel like entirely different things. And they are, in the sense that one's, you know, kind of an adventure that is a realized graphic story. and the other ones, the other two are these making of books that are, you know, they have technical stuff about how the movie's made and designed. But when you actually look at the width and breadth of the design and how deep it goes, it really is a great support for the comic books, because you get this really like this just pure immersion, and that's what I really want for the fans.
Yeah, I think that's so very well said. And you know, we love being part of that journey with you. It's such a daily treat, as I said, just getting to look, you know, peek into your creative vision in the way your brain works. You know, which is it's a fascinating thing, mate.
Cheers, appreciate that.
And just before we close out, Zack, could you talk a bit? You've assembled a wonderful cast in this movie. Lots of personal favorites of ours, like Charlie Hunnam. So many more, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, let's just start with Sophia, because Sophia for me was, I mean, look, she's an incredible talent. I always kind of had an eye on her for Cora. I thought, you know, she could just really do something special and incredible. And but I wasn't 100%. I don't know. I hadn't seen her do this exact thing before. But of course, no one had seen anybody do this exact thing before because it's so particular. But in the audition and then in the like fight audition, both of those, she just completely blew my mind. And she's literally able to do anything. And now she's such a dear friend. And we really this was really a crucible that we both went through. You know, it was like almost like a half a year of filming, and just an incredible, and the amount of prep, and then, you know, the press tours and everything, just really, we really just became an incredible friends. So that was amazing. And of course, Jaimin, who's always been an amazing, I've known Jaimin from when I was in college. He came up to the school I worked at called Art Center College of Design and did a photo shoot there. And I took a picture of him in 1989 during my photography class. He was like, you know, young model from France. And that's what I knew. And you know, I showed him the picture the other day, and he was like, "Oh my God, it's incredible!" It's really been fun. So yeah, and Charlie, of course, is incredible. You know, he's just one of these people that's just every hardworking, thinks about it, knows what he's doing. You know, so it's really just a joy to work. It was a joy to work with him. And yeah, and Hopkins, of course.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, I mean, what
Hopkins is Jimmy the Robot, who's also a fan favorite and incredibly like expanded again in the director's cut to see so much more of him. And I think that, and in movie 2, you know, obviously, if movie 2 is a war movie, you can't have a war without your war robot somehow joining in. So that'll be fun for people to see, I think, and discover. And he's just a joy, and was so fun to work with, and just really just warm and kind and into it and wanting to do it over and over. And it's been just so fun.
That is absolutely awesome, mate. As you know, we're incredibly proud and excited to be in business with you on Rebel Moon, on realizing that vision you've had. Thanks so much for joining me today, mate.
It's my honor, and I can't wait to come to London and hang out.
And we will see you in the store then, mate. All the very best to you, Zack. Take care.
Real soon. Okay, cheers.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV, and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.